All righty, folks, here we are again. You might recognize this guy. Today we have a session, and it is called Meet the Team for the Business Tech Corner inside the H7 network. The pro staff, real words, the alpha team. These are the people that give their time every week. They share their knowledge, and we appreciate you joining us here. And this is different. We're not teaching today. What we're doing is we're spending a few minutes together to get a little bit deeper dive with Reuben today. You know, a little bit more behind the scenes and personal. So welcome, Mr. Reuben.
Oh, great to be here, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I know I'm going to see you again tomorrow and every Thursday um, at 11. We'll throw this one up here. That's Eastern time. We have so many. I was on with SJ. We have like 12 or 13 time zones now in our international community. So that is Eastern time, and so we're on there. And the current platform has Reuben, has Maggie, has myself. Looking for more. Anyway, so let's dig in here and learn about Mr. Reuben. So how did you get started in what you do? And I like how you tell this story too.
Now I'm like, gee, I don't know how I tell this story because I guess the long version, but the accurate version is I started a consulting company as a software developer doing sales and marketing consulting for Fortune 500 firms, which sounds very strange, but that was the kind of software I was building. And I was frustrated that by the time the requirements got to me, felt like a game of telephone had been played and everyone was working twice as hard for half the benefit that they should have been working to get. So I started this company partly because I thought, well, gee, I'm young. I don't have any commitments. Might as well do it now before I have all those commitments. And strangely enough, it generally worked. It was a good idea to kind of think about business process, strategy, and technology all together. Who knew? And we did fairly good work, and we got repeat business, and we got good word of mouth. But the ironic thing was, while I was helping some of the most successful companies on the planet get better at sales and marketing, my sales and marketing was absolutely terrible. And so it was a good thing we did good work and we got those referrals, we got the repeat business, because otherwise we would have been up the creek. And the deeply ironic thing was I could recognize this. I wasn't that blind, but I thought, well, I'm getting paid to hang out with some of the top sales and marketing people in the world. Let me just take good notes and copy what they're doing, which it turns out is an absolutely terrible thing to do when your clients are Fortune 500 companies and you are a tiny little boutique.
Oh my gosh. I've never heard that version. I guess the thing that I love is how you kind of named your product, or it was the accidental CRM. How does that word go?
Oh, I mean, we've got all kinds of accidents along this journey, Greg, but to continue, I got frustrated about not knowing when projects were going to start, if people should be ready, if they should be on the bench. And I thought if I could tell when people were reading my proposals, I would have a better idea of whether a project was going to start on time. So I built a way to do that. It worked, if I may say so, really well. Started telling some people about it. And one thing led to another. People started asking for this, mostly corporate people who are not my market today, uh, who wanted to standardize their sales process. And what I realized later is the reason they were having trouble standardizing it was because they refused to standardize it. So it didn't matter they gave them a tool that would help standardize it if they didn't want to actually do that. Meanwhile, other independent consultants were doing this and they were like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. The end of my sales cycle went from being super stressful to being calm, easy, professional, just part of the day to day. What can I do to get more people in the front of my funnel? And I thought, well, gee, I don't know about that, but let me make some recommendations for you. I went out and did some research. And it was sort of like watching the end of the detective story where they give you all the clues that you missed. I was like, oh, this is why I had so much trouble with this, because there's a million tools that are designed to get leads in the front of your funnel. They're just not built for this independent consulting tribe. And I thought, well, gee, based on what I've already built, I can do a better job of converting web visitors to leads to conversations, which is really the important part. And some people said, "Oh, this is amazing. I'm finally getting leads off my website. I put them in my CRM. And if things go well, I go back into Mimiran to write the proposal." I like Mimiran. It's simple. It kind of thinks the way I think. I hate my CRM. Can you please just make Mimiran be the CRM? And I kept hearing this again and again. And I kept saying, no, that would be nuts. Of course, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to build a CRM. I hate CRMs, blah, 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 all the whole thing. And obviously, you can tell where this is going. And eventually, I realized, again, in hindsight, because I can never see these things when they're staring at me in the face, traditional CRMs are for the VP of sales to keep track of the sales team, which, as anyone as close to that whole process as I was, should have seen, should have been obvious to me. And the sales reps don't even like it, let alone consultants who don't even like selling, they're selling part-time, et cetera. They need a way to follow up that's easy, that doesn't make them feel like a salesperson, lets them show up maybe more like a doctor than a salesperson, but lets them nurture their relationships with their prospects, with their clients, with their past clients, and perhaps most essentially with their partners, which is something that a traditional CRM really doesn't have much to say about. And that's when I realized, oh, now that I've kind of done this, this is why I was so frustrated with the dozens of CRMs that I had tried and always left feeling stupid. Which might be a whole other story, but it might just be looking back that I was using a tool built for a different scenario.
Ooh, so much in there, folks, if you're paying attention. Yeah, the depth, like what he covers, it is so great. It's beginning to end. There's some kind of jargon in there, the funnels, but I love like the down to earth like things like it would be like a lead status or something when web lead conversation proposal. How's that for simple English? Like that's a pipeline right there.
That's right.
So great. And so somebody did call it like the accidental CRM. What is the how tell me that little one if you
Somebody call, and I wish I could remember who this is. I could go into my system and look it up, but somebody called it an anti-CRM. Like,
oh
oh,
that's
this
it.
is this is like a CRM, but it's the opposite. Well, it's also an accidental CRM because I didn't intend to build it, right?
Okay,
I
okay.
should have seen this opportunity from a million miles away and said, aha, let me go do this. But that's not how my mind works. And instead, it is sort of like this anti-CRM where it really is about figuring out how to create and nurture these relationships instead of let me track a sales team trying to force a bunch of leads through a pipeline by the end of the quarter. And when you're a solo
Yeah.
consultant, you still need to like actually get clients. You need to make money the same way everybody else does, but you don't want to show up like a used car salesperson or really any kind of salesperson. You want to show up kind of more like a doctor, and you want to have that waiting room full of patients that are the right patients. You want to have the other doctors who refer those great patients to you. You refer patients that are more appropriately served somewhere else to those people, and being able to keep track of all that and show up without feeling like you're being icky. I think makes life so much better and makes your business so much more productive and allows you to help more of those people that you're called upon to help.
Oh man, there's some nuggets in there. I love the metaphor of the doctor. There's a guy in my region and city that uses that. But the anti CRM and it's anti because it's not the big one. And I've learned this when you were attending the room and now when you're teaching at Tech Corner, that it's not just the CRM. Like you've built this whole mechanism around there for people to get stuff out of their head onto paper, people to um, create the right things to say to the right people. Like you have people ways to help them get ICPs. You have ways to help them create lead magnets. We have ways to do. I mean, it's way more than a CRM, folks. If you haven't tried it, I've tried it. It is rock solid. And again, it is a CRM, but it's anti because it's way more. So thank you.
Well, I
Um,
appreciate that, but I want to point out that it's way more in some ways, but also way less in other ways. Because a lot of the problem with traditional CRMs for solo consultants is not only did they not do certain things that we really care about, but perhaps even worse, they have all this extra junk in there. It's not junk for the people it's intended for, but it just gets in our way and causes friction and frustration.
I I'm not gonna lie. I was in one recently. It's hard to make a screen with the right columns on it in some of these other ones. Excellent. Well, okay, thank you for the getting started one. Here's another one. What do you like most about what you're doing?
Well, I think what really helps me stay motivated and stay on task, because We all know like some days are better than others when you're in business for yourself, but I'm out there trying to fix a problem for my past self, right? This is something I struggled with for years. And so not only do I have, I like to think that the technical capacity to develop software to make this problem better, but I have that visceral gut feeling of, oh crap, I know exactly what this is like, and I can feel it in my gut. When I was building tools for giant enterprises, it was fun and I wanted to do a great job, but it was different. It wasn't a tool that I use myself every day. And so, getting to my whole mission basically is to help folks avoid learning all these lessons the hard way, the way I did. There's plenty of mistakes to make when you run a business. You might as well make new ones, make your own, don't repeat mine.
That's a good one, man. I like that one. Uh, let them learn from your mistakes. Jim Rohn talks about that one, but that's another show. So here's an interesting one. Uh, so being in what you do in the field or your things, like what have you learned that maybe people should know? Like we always talk about FAQs. Like what should people know that's maybe not as obvious from your perspective?
Well, it's funny because I was a big part of this problem, right? I was part of the sales and marketing industrial complex, which is all about serving these big corporations because that's where the money is really. And when you start trying to figure out as a consultant who is not into sales, you start thinking, well, gee, I need to get up to speed. I need some training. I need some tools, et cetera. Often fall into the trap of this sales and marketing industrial complex. And we end up making things way more complicated than they need to be because for some of these big firms, it gets complicated. That's fine. But for solo folks, let's boil it down and keep it really simple. If you are in a relationship business, you are in a conversation business. And if you're in a conversation business, you basically have to do two things. You have to figure out exactly who you want to talk to, and you need to talk to them. And if you do those things, you create a virtuous cycle. What often happens is that we don't do those things, especially those of us who are introverts and don't like selling and all that, right? We try to get out of talking to people, then we don't have a great idea about who we should be talking to. So we end up wasting a bunch of time with people we shouldn't be talking to, patients who should be in another doctor's waiting room. We get frustrated and think, oh, this selling stuff sucks, and we create a vicious cycle. Got to turn that around, get really precise with who we want to meet, our ideal client profile, our ideal partners, and just have those conversations. And before you know it, it will actually be fun.
Ooh, ooh, that is a good little one. So good, man. Thank you. And there's a lot of truth in there, and you're eloquent in kind of the way you say it. It almost evades people, right? Like figure out who you want to talk to and figure out how to get in front of them and say the things that are appropriate. Good,
And ask
good.
the things that are appropriate, right? It's very easy to think that I need to get into that room and start pitching people. And do I have my pitch down? Just ask questions. Just ask the way you
Right.
would if you were talking to a friend. It'll be so much easier and so much more fun and so much more effective.
It is. I've got one that I work on, and I've done it. I'm of a certain age, and we've did it decades ago. It is. Tell me where you're at and the problems that you have, and then tell me your best outcome, and then let's make a thing. Like I have AI growth map. I have mapping your marketing. Like if you can have that conversation, then that proposal is kind of easy.
Yeah,
Well,
the customer
if
writes
you
the proposal.
understand it because you had to talk.
Right.
Yeah.
You should not be writing the proposal. The client basically writes the proposal.
Yeah.
You're
If
the
they tell
editor.
you,
You make
they
sure that
answer
it's
that
all accurate.
question.
Yep. They
Perfect.
tell you
Oh,
exactly what they need.
I love your style, dude. So
You are the
what?
first person who's ever said that, by the way. So I just want to highlight that.
All right. So what's a myth about your job or the industry that maybe people believe, but they don't need to?
Well, and I think it kind of goes back to what we were just talking about. People think this has to be complicated in order to be like real business stuff. And they develop these very sophisticated pipelines, often with a bunch of automations and all this stuff. And they twiddle and they tweak and they build this elaborate machine. And then it's kind of like, the cartoon when they turn the machine on and it sputters and smoke comes out and then nothing really happens because we made it way more complicated than it needs to be. It's literally about figuring out who you're going to talk to, talking to them. And then as you talk to them, that's going to feed back in help you refine exactly who you want to talk to, help you refine the language that you use to bring those people towards you, and also, just as importantly, repel the people who shouldn't be talking to you so you don't waste anyone's time. I think it's very easy. A lot of people complain, oh, I need more leads. Most of them don't need more leads, they need better leads.
Go get them no's.
That's right.
Quick
Yes
to
is great, no is
disqualification.
great.
And that's a
Yep.
real unintuitive thing. Awesome. Okay. Well, a lot about you, a lot about where that came from. Let's dig into more about you. So I'm kind of familiar, and the people that come to Tech Corner year on year are familiar, with you, or maybe you work. But what's something we wouldn't know or don't know about you, Mr. Rubin?
I don't know if you know this or not, but I have twins who are now 19 years old. So a lot of what I have done with my work is try to do something that would let me be fairly present while they're around. And now they're mostly gone most of the time. And of course, somewhere along the way, we picked up a dog, Barley, who I call my VP of HR.
Oh, VP Barney.
That's right.
I did not know that. Those are some of the best employees, man.
Demanding,
Uh,
but very very rewarding.
Indeed. All right. Well, we are getting close. More about you, man. So, like, what gets you going in the morning? Like, to get up and go do this again.
And I think we talked about this briefly earlier. It's literally remembering that feeling of not being in control of my business development process and feeling stuck and feeling anxious about it and knowing what that's like and knowing that I have to help people move past that.
Uh, so good. I think that we've done a bunch of these over the years. I mean, Mark and Danny and Kristen and Tony, and I would think almost to a person. And it's because like you wouldn't be giving your time and teaching every week in Tech Corner if you didn't lead with value and lead with heart and lead with giving. So, man, I appreciate that, and I know that the people that come to Tech Corner do. So, in the home stretch, anybody who may not know you, um, I'm going to put up a thing. But how do they really connect with you online, and what's the best way to?
Well, naturally, I mean, you just put up the website, so that's probably the number one place to find out more about me and what I do. And you can also find me on LinkedIn. You can find me in Town Square. Uh, I think there are a handful of Reuben Swartzes on the planet, but it's going to be pretty easy to find me if you just drop me into Google if you don't remember any of those other things.
There we go. So, you guys want to take a screenshot, Mimiran, and then that's how he spells his name, right
Right.
there.
Yeah, Reuben Swartz Mimiran. It's three words that are a little hard to spell, but it's right here on the screen.
I'm not gonna lie, I've got it right after hanging out with you for a while. And I love what you do because you came into the world and you sort of lead with like CRM, but doggone, it is way more than that. It's about understanding the rest of it and the stuff that you distilled, um, from doing the funnels and all the stuff that you say is a lot of jargon, but essentially, finding the right people by saying the right things and taking those leads and moving them through to a conversation and then a proposal and having a tool that can guide you not only in like CRM tracking, call this guy back after he comes from vacation in August 1, but there's a whole modality in saying the right things to these people and following up in the right way, man. So we thank you for that.
Oh, thanks, Greg. My pleasure. Like I said, I'm just here to try to help people avoid the mistakes I made for years.
There we go. And keep Barney and some kibbles.
That's right. Barley.
Barley. Oh,
Barley,
yeah.
like the grain. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I go to breweries, and some of the breweries make peanut butter barley biscuits for the dogs.
Oh, she would love that. I gotta find some of
Yeah.
those.
Well, that's a funny insider way to leave this. So that was it, folks. This is meet the team. We got a background and learn about Mr. Reuben, the family, the VP. So thank you, sir.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Greg. And whether or not you need a CRM as a solo consultant, if you do go to Mimiran.com, you can find tools to work on your positioning, helping you find that language to bring the right people to you, proposal templates that we were talking about earlier, where you kind of fill in the blank with what the prospect is saying, and a bunch of other things that are just free resources. Go check it out.
Yeah, you do crazy things. That little software coder and you made make a ring light out of your Mac monitor.
Yeah, there's a free ring light app for if you don't have room or you're traveling and you can't have your actual ring light on, you can use
Yeah,
your Mac.
you are full of surprises, sir.
Mostly good ones, hopefully, but it depends who you ask, I
Indeed.
guess.
Today 5 stars, all good ones.
Oh, thanks, Greg. Appreciate
Thank
you.
you. Take care, buddy.